Why is the world in debt? A simple and friendly explanation. Did you know that every country in the world is in debt? Yes, every country owes money. The US debt has passed $48 trillion. The European Union owes $15 trillion. Japan almost $12 trillion. Even oil-rich Gulf countries are in debt. So if everyone owes money, who is the lender? Here's where things get interesting. In reality, the world is mostly indebted to itself. How did debt become so important? The roots of today's system go back to the 1800s. While France and England were at war, their treasuries ran dry and they began borrowing from merchants. They said, look, we don't have the money right now, but we'll pay you regular interest. And that's how government bonds were created. Modern finance was built on top of this. Since then, debt stopped being a burden and became a tool. Countries began financing their growth, wars, investments, and even their prosperity through this tool. So who holds all this debt? Let's look at the US. About half of the $48 trillion is held by investors. And most of these investors are actually Americans themselves. Banks, pension funds, investment funds, even the Federal Reserve. Foreign countries hold a smaller share. Japan holds about $2 trillion in US bonds, and China around $750 billion. So the idea that America is dependent on China sounds nice, but it's not fully true. Most of America's debt circulates inside America. How does the global debt network work? There's a huge web of borrowing between countries. Japan buys US bonds. The US lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe gives loans to developing countries through the World Bank. Those countries invest their foreign reserves back into US and European bonds. Everyone is both a creditor and a debtor. It's like a giant promise machine. Central banks, the invisible engine of the system. Central banks also buy a significant portion of this debt. This effectively means creating new money. The system works like this. The government borrows. Banks and funds buy this debt. The central bank steps in when needed and buys even more. New money enters the economy. In short, modern money is basically another face of debt. So where does the problem begin? Everything works as long as there is trust. If investors believe the government will pay the interest anyway, there is no problem. But when confidence breaks, interest rates rise. The currency loses value. Governments fall into crisis. We saw this happen in Greece, Argentina, and Sri Lanka. Do governments try to pay off their debt completely? Short answer, no. At least, they don't aim to fully eliminate it. Government debt doesn't work like the loans we take. Let's pay it off and close it. It is continuously renewed. This process is called refinancing. In fact, investors don't even want the bonds to be fully paid off. These bonds are the safest investments in the world. Banks, pension funds, and even central banks treat them like cash. If the US debt were fully paid off, it could actually cause an economic disaster because the entire system depends on these securities. The most important truth: debt is a tool. Politicians love saying, "We will eliminate debt," but this is just a slogan that sounds good. The real goals are keeping debt sustainable, maintaining trust, keeping the system running, because debt is the fuel of the modern economy, the heart of money, and most of us are part of it without even realizing.